the city of Owasso, for all that we have done, for all of our progress. We're one of the fastest growing cities in the state of Oklahoma. We were the fastest growing city for a number of years, and now we're in the top 3, because as you get larger, they measure those things by percentages, and we've fallen, I think, now to the 2nd fastest growing city. But for all of the work that we have done, and for all of the work that you will do in your community, your company, your organization, the chances are you will never be a city of character. You will always be a work in progress, working toward becoming a city of character. And if you believe that by passing a resolution you become a city of character, you're probably going to have some real disappointments. I was telling Roger with the Alert group. Roger, are you in here? There he is in the back. I think that's a great group, by the way. Roger was asking me about challenges, or someone was asking me about challenges, and as I was talking with Roger, I mentioned to him that one of the biggest problems that we face in claiming that we are becoming a city of character is that every time city government doesn't do something that somebody wants, the first phrase you hear is, "Oh well, you say you're a city of character, but..." You know, it takes people of great courage. It takes people who are willing to champion the cause. It takes a city council, it takes a chamber of commerce who are willing to say, we're willing to stand up and put ourselves on the forefront of this program, and we're willing to be criticized and face those challenges. But I am here to tell you today the rewards are astounding. They are astounding. They can change a community, and they have changed ours. I want to talk to you a little bit today about some of the ways that we have changed. And I want to tell you that the character initiative that we have has been, and we have found it to be, extremely difficult to measure results. I don't know that you can quantify the success of a character program in every instance. There are some ways. Workers' comp, crime rates, those kind of things can be quantified. You got a great speaker, I think. Ray, are you speaking tomorrow? Got a great speaker tomorrow. I encourage you to come hear Ray Nash. This guy transformed our police department. Not by himself, but by a leadership position and by being a living example of how you can't be in authority as a police officer unless you're under authority. He transformed our police department. And I would encourage you to come and listen to him, because I believe that a community too can be transformed from indifference to sensitivity and from apathy to accountability if you have a great character program. And I would just want to talk to you for a few moments about some of the ways that I believe our small community is in the process of transformation simply because of our focus on the character program. I believe that if you have banners across your community and a newspaper that helps you promote the character trait of the month, and a school program for character, and if you're working with the school to get character, to coordinate your character program, I believe that people inherently become motivated by those programs to practice good character every day, and that in and of itself is transformational. It will build relationships. You heard Tom Hill say that good character is about building good relationships, and we believe that. We believe in our community that every investment, that it's our job to create an environment where every investment in the community produces a good return on investment. Now, most people, when we say that, say, oh, well, you're trying to attract businesses. Sure we are. But we're also trying to attract families and mamas and daddies. Let me tell you what a mama's return on her investment is. The biggest investment most mamas will make is in their house and in where they live. And the return on investment for that mother is for her child to grow up in a safe environment, where the parks are safe, where the kids can play out on the sidewalks, where the child can get a great quality education, where there are opportunities for that child to stay and raise their family in that community so she can be around her grandchildren. That's the return on investment for a mama. And when you talk about when you talk about great character, when you talk about building relationships so that I don't have to worry that my next door neighbor is a crook, a thief, when you build relationships where a businessman doesn't have to worry that he's got to worry about pilferage, and where the customer doesn't have to worry whether or not the thumb is on the scales or whether someone's cheating them in business, you're going to build a community where people can get a great return on their investment for living there. And that is what we're after. That's that process that the transformation we hope is bringing to us. I will tell you too that when you have a character program, and you've got character banners in your businesses, you have the character banner on your newspaper, you have information in the utility bills, all of those things, they're just simply is a higher level of trust, one person to another in that community. And I think what that brings, the Marine Corps talks about a great esprit de corps. I think that program in our community has built a standard of expectation that is higher than others in our area, and people actually are proud to live in a community that has a character program that demands a higher standard simply by being there. Simply by being there. And nothing transforms people and a community quicker than their belief that there's an expectation on their part to carry the load and to carry their part of the weight. If you insist on a high standard of honesty, integrity, flexibility, responsibility, what happens is people rise to meet that level because they want to be a part of the team and they want to go out and brag to other people in other communities about what a great community it is, and they start talking about the low crime rate, not the two people who live in town who are bums or crooks. And that gets you the kind of one-on-one testimony, if you will, about your community. I believe also, and I have seen examples of how our character program has moved to hold people accountable. I don't know how many times in a Rotary meeting or a Lions meeting or a Sertoma meeting or a Chamber of Commerce meeting, I've heard someone say something that I thought was probably not appropriate, and someone else look at them. And this is all across our community. People will look at them and say, and what character trait is that? And you just see the guy. I mean, you can just see that shrinking back, say, well, maybe that is the wrong thing to do. So it doesn't make any difference whether you know how many people are reading your banners or not. If only one people reads it, it's going to help transform your community. And it is, in Owasso, Oklahoma, making a difference in our community. Another thing, I believe that as we begin to talk about responsibility and flexibility and honesty, and I need to get my card out here. By the way, I brought this up. This is the character card that's in the book. This is what your character card should look like. You can't see it, and if you can't, let me tell you, it's hard to read. It's dog-eared. It's been in my pocket for 3 or 4 years. This is what it ought to look like, because if you get it out enough, now Michelle will tell you that means that I have lots of character flaws and I have to read my card a lot and get it in and out of my wallet. But this card is really useful to me. I believe that when you begin to talk about responsibility, when you begin to talk about the character traits, people will absolutely begin to be more active in your community and take responsibility for their community, for community efforts. They will begin to be more active in the faith community. They will begin to carry out their civic responsibilities more diligently. I believe a community of character incents people and motivates people to join the Rotary, to join the Lions, to go to church, to be a part of the Planning Commission, for goodness sake. How many government officials are here today? How many of you are actively involved in city, state, county government? Very good. One of the hardest problems we have in Owasso, a growing young community where people have 14 different soccer games and 15 different baseball games and everything else in the world to do. One of the biggest problems we have is to get people to come and be a part of our City Council, Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, Economic Development Committee, all of those things. Our character program, I think, has actually made people believe and know that they can and should be a part of the decision-making process of our community, and that has been impactful. People actually come and say, if you're really a community of character, I want to be a part of that. And I think nothing can make a community, nothing can build a community better than having people, active, ordinary, everyday citizens of your community and customers of your community, be a part of what you're doing. And I do believe that this program we have initiated through the Character First program has done that in our community. I also believe that foundational to everything we do, that the one thing we seek, the one thing that we want to achieve is those relations between people. We have a little pamphlet that says that we have a clear vision, and Owasso is a place where the streets are safe and the parks are clean and people gather at the football fields on Friday nights and just have a good time. We try to equate our community. We call it Beaver Cleaverville, for those of you who may be familiar with the Beaver. I just knocked something off here. We believe that if you ever watched Beaver on television, he never hit a pothole. There was never a crime in town. I don't know that they even had a jail in that town. So we want to kind of be like that. We want to build trust. And we want to build relationships, one neighbor to another. And we believe that that is occurring on a regular basis because we see children coming home from school with our character information. And we see people getting it in the mail and their utility bills every month. You get the character trait every month in your utility bill. And we see people beginning to talk at the block parties. We have block parties once a year in our community where neighbors get together with neighbors. And at block parties, there were character information all over the place. There were people who were talking about the character program. There were opportunities that we had to discuss the character program. And I believe that as neighbors begin to trust one another, that builds an obligation for them to watch out for one another. I was most fortunate last week, Ray. I had a great time. Last week, after listening for several years, every time we have a police officer graduate from the Cleat Academy, I go and I sit in the audience and I listen to some guy get up and talk about how if I come to your town because I made this speech, don't give me a traffic ticket. Oh, by the way, be sure and get the donuts and have fun and enjoy your life. I hear that stuff all the time. And last week they invited me to give the commencement address for the Cleat Academy here in Oklahoma, the largest class they'd ever had. And I told them that it was important to be proficient with their weapon, but in a time of need, they have more opportunity to demonstrate their character to their community than they ever will have to demonstrate their marksmanship, and that every time we did something that was out of character, there was a deterioration of that armor of character that protects us as officials, just like our protective vest protects us. And I think it was a message that resonated with them, but it was really an opportunity for me, Ray, to let them know, to let those new candidates know that there was a responsibility for character. And I said, you're going to see neighbors who will stand up for one another, and that's great reward just to watch that. And that's what this character program in Owasso can do, and that's what your character program can do. It can actually build in people a responsibility to take care of their neighbor rather than just saying, hey, it's not me. I got a home here. I got a house here. I don't have a home. Being a part of a character initiative builds a community, not a city. It builds a home, not a house, and it does, I think, make people responsible. I've seen in Owasso a change where I believe that statements that are made are based more on fact and less on just trying to win a discussion. I've actually seen a debate between city officials of our community and city officials of the suburb of Owasso, Tulsa. Y'all know that Tulsa is a suburb of Owasso. Not many Tulsans here, they'd get a bigger laugh. I've actually seen a debate where character was an issue that was brought up and was defining, I think, in terms of getting a resolution to a particular problem. When people see banners on street corners, when they drive by and see a banner that says joyfulness, I actually believe that people get more joyful about being a part of their community. I've actually met with people who said, they came in and I said, how are you doing? And they said, I'm doing great. I saw your enthusiasm banner and I'm excited about being here today. Who knows what that one little thing can do. In short, I believe that a program, an initiative that is championed by the people of your community will transform your community from one that may not care to one that truly cares. But I don't think you can talk about this subject unless you talk about what a lack of a character initiative may also do. It's not good enough just to say, here's what we want to do. I think it's imperative that in getting there you say, what's going to happen if I don't do this? And what I believe happens is there's an abdication of ethics and morals in our communities today if we don't call to attention those basic character traits that are foundational to relationships. I believe that when you don't point out, here are character traits that we deem important, you will have a decline in business ethics and personal ethics. You will have a decline in a personal commitment to ethics. And I think you will have a decline in the morals of the community. Excuse me. I also believe that if you don't take responsibility to have some kind of a character initiative, what you're going to find is that there will be a prevailing concept, theory, philosophy of individualism as opposed to shared responsibility. What's in it for me is the catchword in a community or a city that does not understand that building relationships based on subordinating my desires to those of others is the true way that we should live. And I believe that if you have no character program, you could end up with a lack of a shared responsibility. Whether you believe it, I hate to use this title sometimes because it automatically turns people off, and I shouldn't be making excuses for it. But whether you like the person who said it or not, it truly takes a village to make everything work. It truly does. We all have to be involved. And what makes us involved is our ability and our desire and our passion to do it right and to be a person of great character so that my neighbor can trust me. Now, I'm not saying you ought to go home and leave your doors open and just invite people in while you're gone, but I'm saying I would love if I could live in an environment like I grew up in Kiowa, Oklahoma. A population of 300 people and everybody knew everybody. And Ray, when you got a ticket for driving too fast from the marshal, it was generally on Sunday morning when he came out to see your dad and said, hey, your old boy was speeding and you need to whoop him right now. And that was the way we did it. I wish I could live there again sometimes. I don't think we're ever going to get there, but what a wonderful world it would be if we could simply trust our neighbors. We don't have to trust everybody on the block. If we could just trust our neighbor, it would be a step in the right direction toward changing the world. I also want to really focus for a second on this. I truly believe in my heart that if we don't take an opportunity, if we don't take the responsibility of doing some kind of a character program, of spreading character to other cities, if we don't do it in our own city, I believe it results in lost opportunities. I want to tell you a story. It's not a nobody's going to cry over this, but I want to tell you a story. It's a story of a mother and a son who's driving down the street, and the son has just been told. He's 12 or 13, I think he's about 16 now, but he's 12 or 13 years old, driving down the street. He's just been told that he cannot pitch in the, I think it was the semifinals of the baseball tournament that his team had been striving for a long time. He was their best pitcher. He was their number one guy. He's now, he now actually is a number one guy on the baseball team that won the state championship 2 years ago, I think. They're driving down the road, and they look over, and he asked his mother, what is flexibility? He sees the banner, flexibility. He asked his mother what flexibility is, and he's got these tears coming out of his eye, and he was trying to change the subject, and he said, Mom, what does flexibility mean? And his mother looked at him and said, flexibility means that you're willing to give up pitching your game so you can go see your uncle in the hospital who's not going to make it. That's flexibility. That's making my schedule, I don't know the real definition, making my schedule conform to other and greater needs. A lost opportunity with that child. That may have changed his life. And if we don't have a character program, that's a lost opportunity that we should never have. I want to close by talking a little bit about how I believe this transformation takes place. It's not a tidal wave. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not one of those things that's just you're going to wake up on a Monday morning, oh, we're a city of character, and gee, there's lots of trust here, and businesses and customers are getting along, and labor and management's doing great things. It's not going to happen that way. I believe sincerely that the transformation occurs one person at a time. I believe that a team plays like it practices. I sure hope Oklahoma does some better practicing here. It's pretty quick. I believe that a team plays like it practices. And I believe that if each one of us, particularly those of us in government service and those of us who are community leaders, I believe if we're not a living example of character, I believe that if we don't practice every day the development of good character traits, I believe that if we don't show the way by example, others will not follow, and we will begin to practice poorly, and we will play poorly when we do that. I believe that if we don't practice and play and initiate good character development, that we will be like those cities that don't have a character initiative. We will lose those opportunities to change people's lives. I believe that there is nothing more infectious than one good heart to another. That contagion can change the world. Just one good heart to another can change the world if that good heart is witnessing for character and championing character. One-on-one, my message to you today, as I close today, my message to you today is that one-on-one, we can transform a business, an organization, a city, a state, a nation, and the world. But we will only do it if we have a commitment to character. And I say to you in closing that there is nothing more effective than a small band of passionate people who are passionate about developing character in a community. You can and you will change that community from indifference to sensitivity and caring, and from apathy to accountability. And nothing is more important than that. Thank you for listening to me this morning. I appreciate the opportunity.